Welcome and welcome back. You're watching Kiera's Luxe Life, where I bring you all things fun, beauty, luxury, lifestyle, and of course, what's happening in the world. On Wednesdays, you are here for episode 2 on what's happening in the world. And today, I am bringing you 3 reasons why you need to get out of your rental. Let's jump into it. All right, so the first reason that you need to get out of your rental is that many states and cities do not have a cap on the amount that your rent can increase. Yes, this is true. There are definitely some areas that do have a cap to say it can be up to 2%, 3%, what have you, for your next renewal, if that is something that you decide to do in your renewal. However, that's not the case everywhere. And a lot of people have definitely faced the fear or issue of perhaps being priced out. There definitely have been news outlets that have talked about it. There are studies that have shown kind of what's happening. More and more people are talking about the issue because it definitely is an issue. Unfortunately, during the situation that we were all going through here within the world, there was a situation where individuals were working, and even though they continued to work, they were not paying. And for that reason, I definitely think that's part of the issue. It really put a lot of landlords in a tight jam, if you will, as it pertains to expenses, because a lot of them were dependent on the income of the revenue, of course, from their renters to be able to take care of their overhead expenses. And for a period of time, they were not receiving that, and it kind of left a bad taste. Now, of course, if you were in a situation where you were unemployed and you were kind of course, getting by and doing the best you could do, maybe that dynamic is a little different, but there were definitely several individuals who were not in that situation and merely just chose not to pay. So I definitely think part of it is, stemming off of that issue, that you have the landlord renter rift because of how things went down during the times that we're in. So as a result, several renters have said, several landlords have said, hey, we're going to increase it to X amount. You don't like it, get out. The biggest issue, of course, get out and go where? I think it's one thing if you're in a position to relocate and if you're ready to relocate, but if you have a stable employment or if you have other things, if you have family in the area, maybe that's something that's a little bit more difficult or challenging, or maybe something you don't necessarily want to do. So definitely, first reason why you need to get out of your rental. Second reason, interest rates for mortgages continue to increase. Now again, before the pandemic, even during the pandemic, we definitely saw things go from 4%, 5%-ish, and then next thing it went from 5% to 6%, 6%, 7%, and a lot of people are not comfortable with that high end 5, 6, 7%, if you will. Definitely, if you have a current mortgage rate, it's more than likely it's lower than what the average interest rates are going for now when you purchased your home. Why would you want to move? Why would you do it to yourself? Any average person wouldn't. And for that reason, if you're waiting, you do run the risk of getting a higher interest rate, higher than currently what it is now. I know a lot of folks are waiting for the housing market bubble to burst, but the trends are not showing that. So definitely I'm going to put up a few studies, a few trends of what's showing at this point in time. And the projected trend is that the interest rates continue to increase. It's an unfortunate reality. Does it appear that it makes it seem that it's affordable? No. However, when we do see our head chair, Jerome Powell, who says, hey, we're going to have to do another hike increase, right? And we've seen several hike rate increases by Jerome Powell. Something has to change somewhere, for the dynamic to become something different. And I'm not sure we're quite there yet. So definitely sooner than later, you can always purchase a home. And then if you decide the interest rate goes down and you decide you want to refinance for a better rate, you can do that as well. What I can say is, as far as going in and purchasing a property, you go in, let's say you purchase the property, at least you know that you're going to be locked in, provided you have a fixed rate, not a variable rate. But provided you have a fixed rate, you're going to be locked in for a period of time. You're not going to have to worry about that year, the following year, the year after that, when your, i.e. rental renewal will come up, that you're going to be priced out of not having anything provided when that next lease agreement would have come up. So it's definitely, 7% is definitely a thick pill to choke on at this point, but it's I would argue it's perhaps maybe a smidge better than being priced out of your rental and then not having a plan. At the end of the day, you need to plan. Everybody needs a plan. you need to get a plan in place. And that's the second reason you need to get out of your rental. All right, so the third reason you need to get out of your rental is due to bidding wars. So bidding wars are happening everywhere, and it's absolutely berserk. Now, it's not uncommon, of course, when purchasing a home, condo, another, fixed situation, that there are bidding wars. Of course, the sellers want to get the highest price possible, and the buyers want to get the most reasonable price. Of course, estimated based on what they've received for the estimate when they got their inspection, so on and so forth. So there's always going to be that tug, pull type situation on it. However, many people did not see or expect to have bidding wars on rentals. And even in the situation of it, we're finding a lot of folks that, are well educated, have experience in the field, mature, reasonably, within reason, financially responsible. Everybody's financial situation is something different. That's why I say within reason, financially responsible here. And they're just looking to kind of be an average person. They're not necessarily flashy. They don't, have the newest car out, or they don't have the newest, accessories, so on and so forth. And they're just trying to make things work for them. And I feel that when the average, let's say, the average person, which makes up a majority of us, I would say, is just trying to go day to day and take care of their daily, monthly expenses, and they're having difficulty based on rental rates, continued interest rates, inflation, and other hike increases. I think it makes it a bit difficult to try to justify going into a bidding war for a rental property. One, it's not your place. Two, you don't really know how long you're going to stay there. So let's say if you stay there, you signed for a year, and you agree to, okay, $2,000. That's the average, rental situation, especially if most people need 1-2 bedroom, depending on where you're at. 2,000 here. I'm out New England way, so it's a bit more pricier here, especially if you're looking for a 2 or 3 bedroom. But if that's what you're agreeing to pay, and then it goes up, and you're priced out of the following year, now you did a bidding war, now you're perhaps paying more than you were looking to pay to get into that situation, and you weren't really in the situation, into the place long enough to really justify what the cost of it ended up being for you to get into it. So in all respect, I did have a colleague that recently relocated. She did relocate from New York to the Carolinas, and she ended up getting a home, but she rented the home. And they're definitely seeing more and more videos and or segments on that of, people who want a home, but due to, again, like I mentioned, the high interest rates, they're saying maybe let me rent, or let me go about it a different way, so they'll rent the property. And some landlords or some owners feel at this point in time they can get more. And for some of those individuals, I think it kind of, because they were, at the end of the day, they're, maybe they were doing property maintenance, right? Some light maintenance and what have you, because they're living in a home. Maybe they've been in a home 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So they feel that it's their home, and they required, the right to be able to make changes and or modifications. But at the end of the day, the paperwork says you're a renter, you're a renter. The landlord said you gotta go, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? End of the lease, or if they're not renewing you for whatever reason or another, they're not renewing you, they're not renewing you, So it's one of those things. And I think those individuals are definitely hit the hardest in this ordeal. And in the review I had seen the other day, there's a woman and her son. And the woman, early 50s, and her son was 17, 18, and she's like, I was here when, I was here just before my son was born. She had been there nearly 20 years. And the reporter had asked her, did you ever think you would have to leave? And she said no. And I was like, well, it wasn't a rent to own. She was renting. She was renting the home. And unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately, but in this situation, the owner had decided to sell the home. So they were selling the home. They had relocated, they've gone elsewhere. They had a few renters in there. Everyone else had vacated, and they were selling the home. And she, she's like, she'd been trying to find, I want to say she about 4 months. She had been looking, and she had been trying to find a place to go. But the connotation of how the reporter had asked her, she said, hey, did you ever think you would have to leave? And she said no. That goes back to what I segued earlier, is she didn't have a plan, So at the end of the day, failing to plan is failing to succeed. Failing to plan, failing to succeed. And I definitely think that is the third reason why you need to get out of your rental. Definitely let me know what you thought of this video. Leave your comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And I'll see y'all on the next one. How long are you trying to stay in your rental? I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.